Welcome to My Appalachian Home. Each week we journey into the heart of Appalachia. Its stories, its music, its people, and its traditions. From the front porch to the winding back roads, I'll share the rich tapestry of life of this one-of-a-kind region that I call home. Settle in and discover the spirit of Appalachia, one story at a time. Hey folks, Rick Dollar here for My Appalachian Home, a new podcast about extraordinary people doing extraordinary things in Appalachia. My guest today is an old friend of mine, Miss Rita Forrester. Rita, how are you?
I'm good.
It's good to see you again.
I know.
It's been a few years.
It's been too long.
Yes, it has. Now we're in the A.P. Carter grocery, but it's actually the Carter Family Museum here at the Carter Fold.
That's right.
Amazing. We're going to be taking some pictures and just so that you guys can see the beauty that's here and the history of not just bluegrass and country music, but a family that made a huge mark on this world in so many different ways. Rita, I'm gonna let you just fly loose with it. We'll put it that way. Tell me, how did AP meet his family or meet his wife and get all this stuff going?
Well, the side of the mountain we're on, which is called Poor Valley.
Yeah, I noticed that coming up the road.
Granddad's people all lived right up and down through this little track here, not just within miles of this. And his dad was actually born in a cabin that was over across the Pine Ridge, which is across from Mount Vernon Church.
Exactly.
So the Carters lived here, the Addingtons and the Kilgores, they lived on the other side of Clinch Mountain.
Okay.
The Nicholsville side, the Copper Creek side, we call it.
Yeah.
And my granddad, he did a lot of things to make money. He was a carpenter, he had sawmills, he built this store, he and my uncle, or maybe two uncles, Uncle Joe may have helped as well. But they built this little store after he had quit music and was up in his older years.
Right.
He ran it in the late 40s into the early 50s.
Wow.
As a one-room country store.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful place.
It's a pretty little store. Of course, it's been completely redone. And it was much more rustic than this.
Right.
It's still pretty rustic. It's a historic landmark, so we can't change a whole lot. We can upgrade it a little bit, and we have. But he was out one day selling his fruit trees, and he decided that he would walk across the mountain. That was really the only way. If you wanted to ride your horse, you'd have to go plumb to Gate City and on up and around. It would take you a long time. So he decided he'd walk from the way they went across the mountain, which is about a quarter mile down the road. And they knowed if they did, it would take a whole day. And they'd have to take their lunch, and there's a spring they'd stop at and get their water. So he decided he's going to go to that side and sell fruit trees. And he did. He walked across Clinch Mountain, and he crossed Copper Creek. And I found the 4 stepping stones that he crossed on. They're still right there. And it was where everybody crossed. It was a known path across Clinch Mountain. So, and not everybody had even a horse, you know. So he walked over, and he walked. It just so happens that crossing place is real near where my grandma was raised. My grandma was Sara Carter, and of course my granddad was A.P. Carter.
Right.
But he came up on this little farmhouse, and happened to be her aunt and uncle who raised her, Aunt Nick and Uncle Milburn Nichols. And he said he heard a woman singing and playing the auto harp, and he said, I thought it's the prettiest song I ever heard, and I thought she was the prettiest woman I ever seen. And she wasn't but, I guess, 16 when he met her. Because when they married, she was 17.
Yeah.
So they got to talking. She was outside, you know, and he said, do you play a lot of music? She said, well, just around home, you know, for enjoyment, and in the church, you know. And she was telling him about her cousins all played, you know, Aunt Maybelle and her siblings. They played, and on that side of the mountain they had Saturday night dances. You know, they'd roll back the rugs and and have a little fun. They didn't do that so much on this side of the mountain. This was the more religious side.
Oh, I got you.
And well, they were religious too, but they also believed in having
a good
they could
time.
have a good time on Saturday night, and they did. So it was kind of a clash of music because Papa was more accustomed to the religious music. He went to shape note singing school. His Uncle Flan taught it, and he went to that. He learned a lot of his music in church, and I think that piqued his interest in music.
Yeah.
But when he heard she was singing Engine 143, so he wanted to know, about what all kind of music she did, and he got to making more frequent trips across the mountain. And he asked her before he left that day, he said, "Reckon y'all would want to buy a fruit tree?" And she said, "Well, I don't know. I'll have to ask my Uncle Neil." And she said, "I can ask him." But she said, "I'm selling dishes. Would you want to buy any dishes?" And he said, "Well," and I think the title of the dishes was Majestic. And she was selling them out the catalog. She showed it to him. And he told her he'd take one piece. I don't know what it was. I guess he didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And she said, "You just want the one piece?" And he said, "Well, it'd be better if I had more."
Yeah.
And he said, "I would honestly take the whole set if you come with it." And so that's how it all began. And the trips got more frequent. Of course, she was underage, and she was being raised by an aunt and uncle. Her mother had passed away when my grandma, and she was a Kilgore, but she had passed away when my grandma was about 3-year-old.
Yeah.
So her daddy, who was, he had been a school teacher, but he decided he was going to take his 3 sons and take them logging up near Charlottesville, Virginia, to earn money, because he no longer had his wife.
That's right.
And so he took the boys, but he left the girls with Uncle Mill and Aunt Nick, and they never had a child, but they raised 17 children of kinfolk.
Wow.
In a little tiny house
Jeez.
that no longer is standing. But the trips got more frequent. They married within about a year. Grandma was still 17, I think. And in making those trips, and of course talking about Sarah, Papa talked to his brother Ezra about all her cousins and the music. And I don't know when exactly Uncle Eric and Aunt May met, but Papa's brother Ezra ended up marrying my grandma's first cousin Maybelle. Maybelle and Sarah was first cousins, and they married brothers. So, and then they moved to this side of the mountain too. Everybody moved to this side of the mountain. So it was very unusual, almost like double first cousins in the mountains, which a lot of people don't understand. But they didn't have very far to go to meet people.
Exactly.
They couldn't. They didn't have cars and ways to go. So, but going across the mountain was a long way. Usually they just went across the holler. Didn't go that far. But anyway, that's how it all started, and they would get together and make music, and they enjoyed it so much they would do they called them little programs. They'd do them at schools or at the church or whatever auditorium they could use. They'd book a theater every once in a while, and the admission was next to nothing. There's a poster over in the fold. I think it was a quarter maybe.
Wow.
For adults, and I think the little ones got in, and any handicapped or mentally challenged people, if they wanted free admission, they got free admission. Okay. And we still do that to this day.
Oh, I can imagine.
At the fold. So, but they wanted to preserve the music that they had grown up with.
Exactly.
Basically, they all had played and sung from the time they were little and been around music. So they wanted to do that, and I think Papa was the most driven to find more leads about songs. He might find a chorus, he might find just a tune with no words, he might find the words with no music, whatever he found.
Just a gift.
A poem, or a verse of a poem, or just a little maybe somebody just knew the chorus of the song and they sang it for him.
Yeah.
Then he'd fill it out or add it. But he made it a point to go in search of music a lot. And not so much really until they recorded in 1927 up at Bristol for Victor Taco Machine Company in Rock Pier. And he had read in the paper, you know, that if they recorded one of your songs, you got $50. Well, back then,
that was a lot of money.
$50 was a whole lot of money. It's still ain't nothing to sneeze at.
No, really.
And so they said, well, we might as well go and try. Mm-hmm. And they had to borrow Uncle Eck's car. Papa didn't have one. And Uncle Eck made Papa hoe out a corn patch for borrowing the car. They had 3 flat tires.
Oh my God!
They could only get so many youngins in, and people and instruments in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3, AP, Sarah, and Maybelle went. My Aunt Gladys went to take care of Uncle Joe, who was still nursing.
Right.
And they couldn't leave him unattended or leave him at home, but she didn't have a wet nurse, so they took him. And Mommy stood at the gate a crying because she couldn't go. Mm. My mom was Janette, the middle child. She was a little bit older. And but they recorded in 2 days, I think. They stayed with Ezra's twin Virgie, who lived in Bristol. Oh. They ended up spending the night with her. And of course followed an old, I guess, a cow path to Bristol. There wasn't no road.
Probably about right.
Yeah, or a carriage
road,
an old carriage road. And I know they forged the Holston River at one point to get to the place that they went to Bristol. It would be roughly where 58 goes down to Bristol.
Okay.
So they went to Bristol, and they didn't expect anything but just, we tried. Mm-hmm. You know, because there was a lot that tried out for the sessions. And Jimmy Rogers was one of the other famous ones that people remember that tried out. Him and the Geneva Ramblers, and he had come out of Asheville to do it. And I don't think they met any of them that day. I think they all came in singly.
Isn't that crazy though, how all these people that shaped all this music were in the same place, basically at the same time, doing the same
because
thing?
Because of right there. Wow. And Pop Stoneman, and him and his wife Hattie's pictures right back there.
Yeah.
Their wedding picture. He's the one who convinced Ralph Peer to come down here. He said, if you want hillbilly music, or he called her mountain music, we call it. He didn't call it hillbilly. Ralph Peer's the one who gave it that name. But he said, if you want to know about real mountain music and what people sing, and of course it came from Europe. It's what they brought over from Europe.
That's right.
And then when they got in this little mountainous area, it just sort of protected that music. They carried it with them, held on to it. It told their stories, their history. Wow. And it was a way to keep it, you know, and keep it going.
Gosh, that's amazing.
So it was pretty amazing, but Mr. Peer was really taking, I don't know what, Papa was late for one session. I think he's trying to get one of his tires that went flat fixed or something.
Probably.
But anyway, he was late getting there, and Mr. Peer said, well, Sarah, he said, I heard you singing a song to your baby. And he said, reckon you could, you believe you could sing me that song? We could put it down, record it. She said, I don't like that song.
What was it?
It was Single Girl, Married Girl.
Oh.
And she said, I sang it around the house and to the baby. And he said, well, I'd like you to sing it if you would. She said, well, if you want me to. So she and Aunt May did that track.
Wow.
And it ended up being the biggest seller of the 6. Of course, Bury Me Under the Weeping Willow was the first one.
Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid to hear my grandmother sing it.
Yeah. So, and they were just old songs that were passed down.
Sure.
You know. And Papa told him, said, we can do all, like some of them have 10 verses, some of them have more than that, you know. And Mr. Pierce said, no. He said, we can only do, it's like 3 minutes, you know, roughly 3 minutes for a song, because they had them big old transcription discs that was wax that they had to ship back on the train without getting hot.
Yeah.
I guess they packed them in ice because it was in August.
And everything,
I imagine they was brittle if they got too hot.
Yeah.
So he said, you're going to have to keep it down to 3 minutes. So some of it, he said, like, we'll do verse 1, 2, and 14, or 1, 2, and 12, you know.
Wow.
The ones that would tell the story. But
And he knew these things like the back of his hand. So
by that point, probably because they'd been doing the school programs and a lot of their gospel music, and then later on, you know, he gave up other music, a lot of it.
Yeah.
He'd go over into North Carolina.
Yeah.
He'd go different places. They went South Carolina, different, all around Kentucky. Any place he thought he could find material about a song or a lead for a song, he would go to it. And he had met up with Leslie Riddle, who's famous from North Carolina.
Yep.
And Mr. Riddle ended up coming and spending a whole summer here and going around with them to different places, you know, and I'm sure he went with Papa hunting songs.
Well, sure.
And I'm sure people thought, you know, when here comes this 6'4" man, that was my Papa.
That's right.
White man, and Mr. Riddle, who was black, they probably thought, well, what do they, you know, first of all, why are they together? You know, because in the mountains, that wasn't real common.
Exactly.
But they were friends. Papa, they thought a lot of him. And I know Papa told a story about they were all going somewhere. The ladies was with them, and they stopped to eat somewhere at a little place by the side of the road. And the gentleman said, well, I can serve all of you all, meaning my family.
Yeah.
And he said, but I can't serve this man. And Papa said, just stood up, and he said, well, he said, that's okay. He said, we'll take our business elsewhere.
Exactly.
And he didn't argue with him. He didn't, you know, he just went somewhere else.
A.P. Carter was a man that had some
He
some
was a gentleman.
about him.
He was a Christian.
Yeah, exactly.
And he wanted to do what was right, and he always did do what was right in my eyes. And he was a very big influence on my life. He and my mom both. They were two of the best Christian people. You know, things that probably would infuriate us. They would look at it in the Christian way and just say, well, I'm going to do the best I can with this.
That's right.
And do what God would have me do. And they live their faith.
They let it go.
They live their faith. Ain't made with the same way.
Let's talk about what happened. Let's go forward a few years after they've, you know, discovered that they had this talent and these things were working for them. I think is the best way to say it. And they were traveling around doing a lot of music.
They didn't travel real far like Jimmy Rogers did.
Right.
He would go all over the place, although he was a married man with a child. He had one daughter, but he would travel a lot. But they went to Camden. They'd go to Louisville to record. Right. And you know, so did Jimmy Rogers. Okay. But and Louisville, I think, was the only place they actually met and recorded with him. Was in Louisville, Kentucky. And there's a picture of it. But they were mainly doing just things that were local because they wanted to keep their farm. They weren't making enough money to quit farming or Papa's carpenter work or ever how they could make money. So they made their music, you know, when they weren't doing the farming or whatever other work they had. So they didn't go far, but Mr. Peer was trying to find a way to get their music to go further than what they were taking it. And they wouldn't leave their children, they wouldn't leave their family. So
that's another good thing about it.
They just refused. They said,
exactly.
And so he found XCRA and Dr. Don Brinkley, which that's a whole nother ball game right there. But he allowed them to come to Texas. They lived in Texas, and they recorded for live radio on XCRA for a company called Consolidated Drug and Dr. Don Brinkley. And they advertised Peruna tonic and colorback hair dye. It's called colorback. So they were groundbreaking in that they were on the radio doing advertising. They would do the commercials. John Brinkley did it. And there's, I think, a documentary coming out on him.
I've heard that.
Oh, what a character.
Yeah.
I know Nita was 4 when she got to go down there. She cried so much they just had to take her too. And they had took Mommy and Helen, June, and Nita came not long after that, and then Nita came too.
Yeah.
But they would spend 6 months in the winter,
Right.
recording in Texas, or recording in Mexico on XCR,
Well, it's nice
because it was
and warm.
across the border. Yeah, and he bought them a car to go down there, and then they could come home in the summer, raise their garden,
Sure.
do their farming, take care of the animals and that sort of thing, and they could still lead part of the life they lived. They would still do their entertainments or their music, but not go as far, but they just refused to leave their children.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, when did you come along? You don't have to give me the year.
1954. I mean, I'm not ashamed of it. I was, from my earliest memories, my parents divorced when I was 3. So by the time I was 3 in 57, we were living up on the hill in a little, started out with just 2 rooms. And Papa moved in with us because we had my dad kept the house that we lived in Bristol.
Oh, okay.
So we had nowhere to go. And he came up there to be with Mom. He thought she needed somebody with her. And it was me and my baby brother, Dale. And then my older brother, Don, stayed with Daddy. He was already in high school.
Wow.
And he didn't want to change schools, so he stayed with Dad. But they would visit back and forth and that kind of thing. But my earliest memories are having my papa and my mom with me. And they're some of my most precious memories.
Yeah.
But my papa died in 1960, so I only had him about a little more than 6 years.
Yeah.
But he left a very big impression on me.
Huge legacy. I mean, a huge legacy.
You couldn't find a kinder, gentler man if you looked the world over.
Yeah.
And I know he had a rental property, just an old house over in the Little Valley, we call it, which is the ridge over across from here, from Fort Valley. And there was a family that lived over there, and they had 12 youngins.
Wow.
Well, that was during the time Papa had this store. And they came to a festival one time. And I never knew this because Papa never said anything about it. But we have the old account books for the store.
Oh, wow.
And one of the Hensley brothers looked at me and he said, "Your Papa raised me and my siblings."
Wow.
He said if we needed clothes or shoes or pinto beans or, whatever we needed that he had, we'd go to the store and he'd write it down on the bill. And he said he never pushed us for money if we didn't have it. And how would you have money if you had 12 youngins?
And there again,
And you're sharecropping.
you're seeing
the Christian
goodness
faith, the goodness.
of
He
what was
never
happening.
told people about it. That's just what he done.
That's the way it should be. I mean, even if we do
Well, I
something
think
good
it's
for
the way
somebody, you
mountain
shouldn't push
people-
it out there.
Mountain people, they may not all do it that way now, but I think in that time, that day and time, they did do that.
They did.
The church was the center of their life, and they actually lived their faith. And we'd be better off if we were still that
We're the
way.
same way, yeah. Well, just like the phone call, like when I pulled in out here, I called you, and you said I'm on the. I would have answered the phone sooner, but I was on the phone with the preacher.
Who is married to my cousin.
And I said, there you go. You go back to that phone call.
Well, yeah,
I'll be fine.
Well, we're having some issues with things at the church and the cemetery, and that it's very close to my heart.
Well, sure.
That my little granddaughter, I think, is the 7th or 8th generation of Carters to attend Mount Vernon Church.
Wow.
And my granddad and his dad and brothers helped to build it in 1906. And it's a historic landmark. So, I'm at this point in my life, I right now have my little 4-year-old granddaughter, full-time custody of her.
Oh, okay.
And my son has moved back from Denver to help me. He's never married, knows nothing about youngins. But here we are. I'm 70 and he's uneducated with children, but except for the ones he teaches.
Yeah.
But we've got this little girl and, doing the best we can.
No, but I think though, if she'd just listen to you,
Well, honey,
think she'll be all right.
she'll have to listen to my voice.
She'll have no choice.
And I tell people, you know, my mom, she had a gold standard.
Yeah.
And it was my granddad's mom, Molly. She was part Cherokee, and she was a midwife, and she was the driving force behind the Carter family. She would not allow Papa to take a contract with Brunswick Music on his own, fiddling, because they were going to call him Fiddling Doc. And she said, honey, you can't do it. Because she said, you know that the fiddle is the devil's instrument. And he didn't take it.
Oh, wow.
Listen to Mommy. And even today, if I'm cooking something, if I'm putting my clothes on and they're not right, if my house is not just this way, if I don't treat people a certain way, I think, well, now Grandma Carter wouldn't be happy with me. But I never met her.
Yeah.
But she shaped and molded not only my granddad, but his children, because when my grandparents divorced, she was like me. You know, Papa, his mom helped him with the youngins, and his sisters, you know. And he kept them. He kept his children and raised them.
You're right on about 99.99% of your front here, because if we had this type of raising and all this other stuff, we were close in our family to getting this kind of raising, because my grandfather was a preacher.
I'm proud I was raised this way.
Me too. I mean, I was like, hey, if you do somebody wrong, I hope it bothers you.
It should.
And Papa always said that, and I always thought it was me for saying that, but he taught me plenty.
They were trying to teach us how to do and how to live.
Exactly.
And you know, it sticks with you.
It does.
And it does to me to this day. I think about, you know, things that they said. I try to hold on to the things I've got that were theirs and showcase them to people, tell them about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't be more proud. I mean, we grew up poor. I'm not ashamed to say that.
That's just part of
I
life.
wore hand-me-down clothes and handmade clothes. And we eat soup beans and potatoes and biscuits and gravy.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
And ain't anything wrong with it.
Do you have any of that over there?
Well, not right this minute, but we could get
Are you
some.
sure?
Yeah, we could fix some. But I mean, that's what we grew up doing,
That's
and
right.
I'm so happy that
Oh,
I
me
did
too,
that.
man. Let me tell you.
I learned how to, if something was to happen that I had to go back to raising a big garden and canning my food, I could do it
You
in a
can
minute.
do it, couldn't you?
Yeah, and I can't because of the phone now.
Yeah, you've got plenty going on with Carter Fold, which we're
going
gonna go over there and maybe give you guys a look at the Carter Fold here in just a minute or two. But
that kind of changed that dynamic, you know, to where I don't garden like we did. But
That's right.
growing up, gardening and killing hogs was our.
Man, I've done it too.
We did it all the time.
I told my grandson the other day, I said, man, you never heard about people killing hogs, have you? He's like, oh, well, they run them through a factory?
No.
I said, no.
No.
If you had a shotgun and you had to, not even a shotgun, if you had like a 30-06,
hit them right between the eyes.
if you don't, you're going to hear that squeal
Yeah.
in your dreams.
That's
and he looked at me
You had to
so
kill it with
funny.
the first shot.
Exactly.
And when my granddad, it's my dad's dad in Mendota, they had a 300-acre farm.
Wow.
On Thanksgiving, we killed 7 hogs every
That's
year.
when we always did it. When it was
7.
cold.
Well, you talk about a lot of hog meat.
Oh my God.
And a full weekend. But we did get good tenderloin.
Oh yeah.
Good old ham meat.
It was always good to see those hams hanging from the
curing the
smokehouse.
hams out in the smokehouse.
Oh,
You
man.
can't do it now because of the changes in the weather
I
pattern.
know it's
Your
hot.
buildings ain't
all the
cold
time.
enough.
I know.
So everything has
It was great.
just changed. You know.
Exactly.
But I'm so thankful that I got to see every bit of that.
I'm telling you, it's good for you.
It is. It certainly
run over
helped me.
Thanks for riding shotgun with us this week on My Appalachian Home. Remember, life is what you make of it. We'll see you soon.